welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Yes, we'll turn our attention to security now. And as you've seen, that we're joined by Brigadier General John Temlong. He's a former army officer and also was the first commander of the Multinational Joint Task Force and former president, Alumni Association of National Defense College and Security. He joins us virtually. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, there are yet again concerns about security. These abductions, this one happened in Kaduna over the weekend, and it raised a lot of questions as to, in spite of all that seems to be done, you know, when these kind of things happen, you know it will always raise a lot of questions such that we wonder, okay, so what did we do wrong? How do we retool? How do we re-strategize? Are we getting or missing something? So you tell us. I mean, this comes off the recent meetings that defense chiefs also had the army in Jos. So what's your take on how we're handling this challenge of kidnappings and dealing with banditry in the country?
Well, thank you very much for having me, and my heart reaches out to the families of those who were abducted recently. It's quite unfortunate that we have been discussing these same problems over and over. The security forces or the armed forces have a grasp of what they are doing. Just last week, the NATCEL, the Nigerian Army Day celebrations, were held here in Jos, and there was a topic, a lecture too, that was given on these areas. But the unfortunate thing is that the security or the military has been talking more to itself, and those who are supposed to be protecting are not interested in coming to such fora. When you talk of a whole of society approach, that's what the strategy now that has been adopted to deal with these complex security problems that are befalling Nigeria. The society itself doesn't seem to be interested in knowing its roles and how it comes in to be able to be protected by those who are there working day and night and putting their lives on the line to protect them. So there are certain basic things that the society should do to complement the military efforts, and that's what we say the whole of society approach. Everybody is involved. Like Clausewitz, one of the legends in strategy, said, is a trinity: government, citizens, and the security forces or the armed forces. Now, how do the civilians or how do the society come in? Some of these people, all of them, they live with the society. Within the society, they don't live off the ground. They feed with us, they play with us. Some of us are their informants. Some of us know who they are, the bad guys are. And because it is so lucrative now that you have even highly placed citizens are enjoying from the process of crime. So it makes it more difficult. And those enjoying some to protect those who are perfecting these crimes, protect them using their offices, their minds, and their connections and reach. Because the process of crime is so lucrative, is being enjoyed all over, from bottom to down. Unless something is done seriously, this society approach even includes the concept of the rule of law. Our judicial system working the other way. We start to politicize crime. Crimes that should be dealt with as a crime, we politicize it and bring certain things that you see people going to negotiate to release that these are their people, these their people, and the rest. You see that one playing out even at the levels of state governors and senators recently coming out to say, look, they want to negotiate a political settlement or a settlement for the release of Nnamdi Kanu and the rest. So you can see these are some of the things that even though that I commit an offense and the law does not is not effectively used on me, I know that there are people there who come out and say, no, these are our boys, they are our thugs, they are politicians, they are our supporters and the rest. It doesn't discourage me from committing the crime. The law there itself is put to as a check to protect or prevent people from committing offenses, because if you know you commit a crime, there are consequences. But if there are no consequences, the same society start treating people with gloves. They will cry today, the next time when they arrest those people who are involved in those crimes, people will start saying, no, they should leave them, they should do this and the rest. So that is so complex. So unless the society itself, like I've been saying before, unless we Nigerians decide that we want to take back our country from criminals, nobody will take it back for us.
I mean, Mr. Temlong, I want to be able to. I want us to be able to hone in on that statement, because you've repeated it 3 times. Where, you know, when these crimes are committed, I mean, this particular one that happened in Chukwu, and of course, these are journalists and their families, so it's a very worrisome situation. It means it does seem as though this was targeted at these people. Now, there seems to be some sort of resurgence, and correct me if I'm wrong, with what happened in Ngoza. And then now we're hearing about this bandit situation that happened in Kaduna. It does seem like there is some sort of resurgence. The military keeps telling us, look, this is a situation where these people have been decimated and are looking for ways to seem relevant again. Do you agree with that? Or are there lapses? I mean, you used to be in charge of the Multinational Joint Task Force. Are there lapses on the ground that you can point out to us that's caused these things to happen?
Well, for me, as a strategist and a military commander, what happened in Goza is typically telling me that the terrorists are losing. They are not able to face the firepower of the military. So what they are now doing is hitting the soft targets. So it means that they do not have the strength or the combat power again to start facing the military. So I think what the assessment of the military is quite right. For you, you think is something resurgent. No, they are now hitting soft targets. And that's why the society comes in. Because if you found out that these people went to a wedding and then she was carrying a baby, but there are certain indicators. Any human being about to die or in that, no matter the situation, you will see it on the face. There will be some jitters, there will be some sweating, there will be some telltale signs that this is a bomber. And so it means that we should stop going to sleep. That now that they are now coming back to the citizens' soft targets, the citizens must be the one to be able to isolate them and get them in, and make sure that they don't create more havoc to them. So one of them, you know, the ones who was arrested, you know, it was the telltale signs that led to the arrest by the military. So I think we need to do that. But on the other hand, for the journalists, you know, you see, they are targeting journalists because they know that you will make a lot of noise because rightfully you are the ones who control the third step of the rim. So if you are making that, it gives them more publicity. It makes people, the aim is actually to create fear and to create a sense that the government cannot protect people. So that's what they want. So if you see yourself being targeted, it's a strategy that they are bringing in place to make sure that they create maximum fear in the population. So I think that's a strategy that they usually do. What the aim of the terrorists is to control using fear. So I think we should get hold of it, get the citizens to be able to fish out these people. It's not a resurgence, but you know, one of the major sources of getting money or quick money is by kidnapping in this country now. Because when they kidnap, ransom are being paid and the rest. So I think, we should, because these kidnappers live there. Because if today I start spending money way and above my income, people should ask questions. But nobody asks questions these days.
So let's talk about that a bit, Mr. Temlong. You just mentioned right now that it is a franchise. We've heard so many state governors and people, even from the military, talk about how kidnapping is now the new franchise. And you know, but it feeds on something. It gets members from something. And that thing is poverty. widespread poverty. If people, of course, there's no excuse for crime and criminality as a person. You should be decent. But there are situations, around the country where we see people at a point where they have no choice but to go into crime and criminality. And we've heard the military say, look, while we're doing the kinetic ones, while we're trying to catch these bandits and terrorists from everywhere, the poverty in your state, Mr. Governor, is responsible really for the markets where these people can be harvested from. What do you make of this non-kinetic approach? Are we seeing any changes in that regard in our country right now?
Definitely the problem of bad governance, or in fact, absence of governance creates this situation. And that's why you talk of the whole of government and whole of society approach. What are the state governors doing? Every time there's a push to the federal level, what is the President Tinubu doing? What are the Chief of Defense, the Minister of Defense, the Chief of Army Staff, what are they doing? But what are the governors doing? What are the local government chairmen doing? You find out that, look, it is the same elite who do not even want the local governments to work. Now, if that level of government is not working, this poverty you are talking about it will continue. Yesterday, I sat down with my own local government chairman, and I said, look, there are ways we can go about this thing without even the government at our own level. What can we do? Poverty is endemic.
Pardon me, just give us a minute. We need to just, well, I think we'll try and get that connection back. We lost him for a bit. So I wonder how the president will feel about this. You know why? He retained the Ministry of Petroleum as the Minister of Petroleum Resources and Gas, as a matter of fact. So he's got to, this can't keep happening time and again. And then when there's rain, you have this challenge. When there's a loading problem, you have this challenge. And yet, this resource is where I think Nigeria relies on this sector for over 80% of our revenue. For
something so crucial to our revenue as a country, it does seem like it's so fragile. Rain falls and the road is bad, or this happens and that happens. It's a little too much.
I don't understand this. Ayo.
Well, it's a whole load of conversation altogether, if you ask me. Well, you know what? The conversation we are having with the general it's equally very, very concerning. And this, that you're talking about is one of those linkages a number of people would say to poverty, how poverty affects things, altogether in all of this conversation. But, let me bring back the general that we are talking about. We have just a few minutes to go on the program this morning. Now, on the one hand are the issues that you've spoken about, but then something that you said about the fact that kidnapping is a way to make quick money. That's a very, very concerning statement, isn't it, General? Given that we know it is a crime and we know it's a way in which people make money, it would seem like we are, as a nation, abetting. Can you hear me, General? General, if you can hear me, I'm just asking in response to a question you asked you raised the other time, the statement you made the other time, that kidnapping is a quick way for people to make money. I'm just wondering, this has been going on for a while. As a society, could we be seen to be aiding and abetting? Okay. It seems that the general can't hear me. So, Dele, well, there was a question the other time that Kayla posed to you. I'm not sure that you got the message, but let me just put mine. It would seem like, is it something that the authorities are not just aware, but actually doing something about? As you said, it's something that's gone on. This is the third year in a row. And Chamberlain also raised the issue the other time that the president is still the Minister of Petroleum Resources. So, is it something that you think only the NNPC is left to deal with, or there is something being done by the Ministry of Works and the other concerned authorities?
This one is, you can call the call and call back.
Can you hear me, Dele? Okay, well, Dele can't hear me. Let me give it back to you guys, because the question that I'm actually very interested in knowing, Chamberlain and Kayla, what the general will say to that question of whether or not we are abetting, aiding and abetting as a nation. Given that this has been going on for a while, he said, kidnapping is a way that people make quick money. And this has been going on for a while. And is it so intractable, or we are actually aiding and abetting? I'm wondering, Chamberlain.
General, can you hear us? Okay, I think you're muted, so we can't hear you. I think that's what's going on. You need to unmute yourself.
I've muted myself.
So much better, so much better. All right, so
I can hear them.
The answer to the question we asked, sir.
What's the question, please?
We said with kidnapping becoming a franchise, what can subnationals do? Because we cannot, if there's massive poverty and non-kinetic measures to combat banditry are not being, used at subnational levels, then we're basically feeding these bandits and terrorists with people who will join this franchise. What can be done in the interim?
I think the subnationals hold the key to effectively tackling these problems of criminalities at their levels. It's not a federal thing. The problem of bad governance, lack of inclusivity, and then the local government is not functioning. It's a major problem that is hindering against the fight against criminality. Now, you can see that we have been talking about local governments having autonomy, but it has been resisted by the elites. Now, if the local governments are not functioning, then what happens? The states, in fact, the monies that are meant for the local governments are not even being spent at the local government level. Like I was saying yesterday, we discussed with some of my local government chairmen, the two, Langtang North and Langtang South. I said, look, in the days past, we had the local government created a body of contractors who became employers of labor within the local governments. And money was being spent within the local government. So the question of poverty, staring and hunger, staring at people at the bank were reduced. Now, there were places where you could go in menial jobs for the day, being given by the local governments. But that's not the case now. Even the state governments had what you call divisional engineers offices in all the local governments that laborers could go and work and get money. Today, those sources of money have been closed. Even in districts, you had agricultural officers who are giving money to people, laborers to create this erosion control mechanism in those areas. All those things are gone. So the question of even getting daily stipends for laborers is not even there. So the monies of the local governments are spent at the state capital, and the monies of the state are spent at Abuja or in other world capitals. So even when you hear that some 1.something trillion was being released from the Federation account, how much does it go down at the subnational level? It doesn't. So you need money to be in circulation. That will increase the purchasing power of the citizens. And once these things are happening, the criminality will drop itself. Here over and over. Have you actually observed that during political campaigns, crime rate reduces to a bare minimum? Because all those kidnappers, all those armed robbers and the rest join the political trends of the campaigners because they know there's money they get at the end of the day. It is when you start governance that money now moves back to the national capital or to international capitals in Dubai, London, and US and the rest, that now they are left face to face to start harassing the criminal citizens on the streets. So we need these people to start doing seriously. The amount of money we are spending on governance is too astronomical. When there is a depression like this, you spend on capital projects so that citizens can start getting employment. Once the laborers are getting money on a daily basis, the market woman, the woman who cooks food, the woman who makes kunu, the woman who makes akara and pap, will be getting money every day because laborers will eat. They need energy. But once there is nothing and you are moving all the monies out, people are left with nothing. In fact, the sad aspect now is that they go to the farms and buy off the farm produce at very, very ridiculously low rates. They will tell you that a bag of rice, they'll price your,
General,
farm.
We have to thank you for talking to us this morning. We really do appreciate your time here today. Brigadier General John Temlong is a former Army officer and the first commander for Multinational Joint Task Force. He was also the former president, Alumni Association of National Defense College and Security. Always a pleasure to have you on, General.
Always a pleasure. Army officers are retired. They are not former. Thank you very much.
We hear you loud and clear. Thank you. Well,